Well, good morning and welcome back to Ribbon Candy Hooking. I'm Deanna. It's great to see you this morning. Happy Wednesday. Oh, it's a tough one to figure out what day it is this week because the kids have 2 days off school. That plus the daylight savings thing. I am just like a not tethered to any kind of reality at this moment. Linda, great to see you. Good morning. Are you working on a yarn project? That's a good crafty little logo there, little emoji thing. Is it an emoji even if it's not a face? That's something I'm too ashamed to ask my kids. Joyce, good afternoon. It actually is the afternoon. Good morning. Great to see you. And Susan, Kansas, great to see you. April, good afternoon. And Karen, good morning from it is morning for you, isn't it? Because you're in a different time zone from chilly Black Forest, Colorado, expecting snow this afternoon. Ooh, there is a nip in the air here too. It is really chilly. Was having an interesting conversation. Ryan, good to see you. Happy Wednesday in North Texas. Peace and love to you too, my love. I was having a funny conversation with Kirsten on the way in this morning, and I said, she normalized this for me. I'm driving through my neighborhood where I drive, honestly, I'm going to say on average 4 times a day, on average. That's just back and forth twice. But normally with other stuff, it's way more than 4 times a day. It's like literally the streets where I live. And, um, and I was driving this morning and I was leaving a message for her. And I suddenly thought that I missed a turn because even though I'm there all the time, the neighborhood looked very different because there were so many leaves on the ground. And I just thought, this is so strange and surreal when this happens because it's like, you know, I live here. And you would think that I would recognize the houses and the yards and the bushes and where things are and people's cars parked and all of that stuff because I have a pretty good visual memory. But yeah, it's just weird. I had that moment of, oh, and I thought, no, whoa, wait. And it was just a case of so many leaves having fallen down and it just made a different landscape. I mean, the ground was just, it wasn't paved. It was a bunch of pretty leaves. And I just thought, wow, this is so weird. And I left a message for Kirsten and I said, here we go with the glasses, right? It was one of these, is this normal kind of a message? And she said, it's totally normal. And she said, I do the same thing and also, like when it snows. And I said, absolutely. When it snows, it's going to happen all over again, that it's going to be all confusing. Um, any little thing. It doesn't take much. And the darkness, right? These are not good either. Oh, glasses. Where are you? I'm going to have to order another 30 pairs so I can lose them systematically over the course of the next month, just like all the others. Happy coffee time. I put it in our group this morning, right? Maybe it's just an odd day. Maybe I put it in a little bit late. Maybe people are busy with the day. I think the daylight savings gets a lot of people. I know it gets us, that's for sure. But busy times here, busy times. I'm working on so many new products, which is exciting for me, and it kind of ebbs and flows as it does with all of us, no matter what we're doing or what the shape of our days looks like. Everything really ebbs and flows dramatically, doesn't it? You hope it doesn't shift dramatically because then you get these crazy dramatic moods and swings. For me, it does. But I'm trying to create situations where I plan ahead, right? That's a thing. But I just got my Patreon note out last night, and I have another one coming because I'm also gearing up for Thanksgiving. So I put out the Patreon message last night. It was a project I'd been working on and had refined. I'm working on a few projects that I am refining as I go. And yeah, it's just one of these weird moments where I feel like drawing all the time. I feel like drawing designs. And then for some reason, I'm in a weird kind of rut or groove where I draw something that I love and then I look at it a second time and go, oh no, I don't, I not only don't love it, I hate it. And then I start reworking it. It's just the formula lately, and God knows what that's about. It's probably not about the drawings at all, but there's something going on. So I finally got that out with Patreon, and then it occurred to me that Thanksgiving is coming up. American Thanksgiving is coming up. I know our Canadian friends, you've had yours. You can celebrate again with us. And I thought, it's been a while since I've done a show on Thanksgiving. And I think it was that first year, it might have been 3 years ago, that I did a show on Thanksgiving Day. I woke up and I did it in the morning before we headed out to my sister's to do our Thanksgiving, with the family. And I really liked that. And that episode was about Norman Rockwell. This is what reminded me of it. It was about Norman Rockwell and rugs in his paintings. And remember how the other day I was at the Norman Rockwell Museum and I found that one painting that I had never seen before anywhere. And it definitely had a hooked rug. And that was the first hooked rug. Lots of braided rugs, but that was the first hooked rug I've seen in his paintings. And I got all excited about that. And it made me think, I would really like to do a Thanksgiving show on Thanksgiving. It won't be Norman Rockwell because I already did that. But it will be something different. I think I might actually do a show on Thanksgiving morning at an odd time to be decided, TBD. And it'll probably be about the Macy's Day Parade, right? Because that's like a great interest of mine lately. It'll be part history, and there might be a pattern coming your way. That'll be a free pattern that I'll put up that morning in case you have a lull in your day and you'd like to download something and start working on it. So that's what I'm thinking about. And I also want to get a pattern out again later in the month for kind of Thanksgiving celebrating to Patreon. So there'll be a second pattern coming this month. And Dawn, I got your message if you're watching, and I will send that to you a little bit later. I've been running just a little bit this morning. Cats Gallery, great to see you in sunny California. And Dave, you are on. It was a cold night in Toronto. Hot coffee inside. It was cold, wasn't it? And it was for us cold this morning. It was freezing this morning. I woke up a little bit earlier than the kids, but it's getting cold fast. And I have to say I'm very relieved because with the way that the autumn went, I thought this is going to be a year of two seasons, and I'm going to feel like I was going to say gypped. I don't think you're supposed to say that anymore. I was going to feel like I was robbed. I was robbed of the experience of the four seasons. So that's a great movie too, isn't it? Oh, Diane, great to see you. I meant to say, Diane, while you're on, I'm going to be putting together, in case you want it, for one of the kits that I already sent you, the shiny things. For some of my kits there are, I think, videos for them, but just in case, because now there's like so many videos, it's hard to find them. Although it should be under the name, but still, for a few of my kits, like shiny things, the Kiss, the ice cream one I did with Diane Collins, there's a bunch of them that have mixed materials that they have a picture that go with them, but maybe need more explanation. And I definitely think shiny things is one of those because it has a big Prada element. So I'm going to actually make a document on my computer that explains that pattern, and then I'll email it to you so you have that, because I know that you can do it without the document. But I just thought with some of my kits, I want to get a little bit more professional. And for ones that I explained on Coffee Times at the time, and then I just kitted them and they still sell, some of them need like supporting information to say, well, what was she doing there, So I'm going to do that. So be looking out for that, Diane. I'm going to work on that probably tonight. Oh, Sharon, great to see you in Vancouver, loving the autumn weather. I'm keeping this vignette just for the moment, I know it's very Halloween heavy, but I'm not ready to let go yet. This might be the last week. But yeah, autumn, and I wrote in Patreon last night, it's so strange how when you think about it, most people, I think, would say autumn is their favorite season. Some people say, oh, I can't stand autumn. Very few. Most people say autumn, and I don't know what it is. If it's the nostalgia, if it's being an adult, it's almost like the privilege of drinking wine at a certain point, the privilege of not going to school in the fall. When you get older, maybe you just enjoy the autumn more. And, I don't know what it is, but at the end of the day, at least for us in New England, the heat, right? It's usually an Indian summer. The heat digs in, right through September, sometimes into October. And in the best year, there's usually 1 or 2 weeks where the leaves are phenomenal. And we have that whole fall foliage ecstasy of the most beautiful scenery everywhere you go. But it's usually that survey of being a tour guide for all those years, it's 1 or 2 weeks. It used to be the last week of September, first week of October, like clockwork. And that has changed in the last 10 years. But I just feel like out of the whole year, when we've got the 52 weeks, we talk about autumn, and we do love autumn, and it's nice to have a break from the high temperatures and before we hit those very cold temperatures. But it's such a small window of time. I don't just mean the leaves. I mean, it just feels like we just shed the heat. It was 80-something degrees when I took the kids out on that train ride. I think it was last weekend. Maybe it was the weekend before. I think it was last weekend. And now it's like freezing in the mornings. It's just such a short time. It seems crazy to me. I'm thinking of all those weeks of the year. And can't autumn be like rightfully just a solid 3 months, you know? I wish. We'll see. Mother Nature. So let's see. Oh, Dominique, bonjour de Quebec. Great to see you. Welcome. I'm very glad that you're there. What a beautiful name. And Jenny, you logged on in Dallas. Great to see you. Thank you. I love the background too. It's going to be hard to let it go. Believe me, all the Christmas stuff is on deck. I won't go over the top. I know not everybody celebrates, but lots of projects in the pipeline. I want to show you a couple things I'm working on, and then I want to catch up on some slides. Do you think we would enjoy if it that much if it lasted? April, that's a great question. That is a philosophical question. I don't know. Maybe we do. That is a bigger question than I can answer. But I get what you're posing, and I think you're probably right. If we were spoiled in it, maybe we wouldn't enjoy it so much. Maybe the very nature of it being so fleeting um, is why we look for it and try to catch it, and enjoy it so much while it's happening. That's a good point. That's a good point. Because God knows we get enough of bleak winter in this part of the country, and we get enough of sweltering claustrophobic heat. We get enough of those two things for sure. But yeah, you're probably right. That's a good thought. So I was working on something different. I've been working on a couple of things because I am putting products up like crazy right now. It was just brainstorm of things. It was like an avalanche of new ideas. I want to put this up as a project. I saw, Dawn, you posted, or somebody tagged me on a post where, Dawn, you said, oh, I didn't know that Deanna would kit anything, any pattern that's at ribbon candy hooking. I always will. Just ask me. I never charge for custom anything. So if I kit it, all I'm doing is looking at like the square inches of that pattern, and I'm doing the math and making it the same cost as another kit that size would be. I do take into account whether there are very few lines and it's very simple drawing. Those patterns are less, and thus the kit would be less too. But when something is very, very busy, like the ball to shawl tapestry or one of the Vogue covers, those are a little bit higher, right? Not like prohibitively higher, but a little bit higher. So that you can always ask me for how much a kit would be. And if you already have an idea in mind that it would be whatever, 18 by 25, you can look for other patterns that are similar sizes, and then you're pretty much there with what I would say the price is, because I'm pretty consistent with pricing with stuff like that, and I'm never going to charge you for me having to kit it for the first time. I have plenty of wool in these rooms behind me here, so that's always possible. But one of the things that I haven't offered yet that I do want to offer now with the holidays coming up is, Diane, you bought a couple of my daughter Jocelyn's patterns, and I really appreciate that. God, was she bragging when that order came in? She wrote you a note too. She brags to Teddy, my son, and he's been working on some designs and stuff too. It's not as much his thing as it is hers, but she's very pleased with herself when her patterns sell, because she considers that a great sort of omen for the future. I agree. So I have done a few of her patterns, but and I've done a few of Teddy's patterns because he just makes less. And I was thinking it might be that some of you have drawings of your children or grandchildren or special little ones in your life that you would like to hook. And maybe it's too much of a thing time wise, or maybe you don't have enough stash at this moment to be able to put together a pattern based on a child's drawing. So I want to put a product up that is like, so for example, as an advertisement, I've been working on this piece, which is one of my daughter Jocelyn's pieces. The light is not super good, but this one is called Taking the Stage, and she did this one maybe 3 years ago. And that's Mama. This is in the days when I did some cabaret singing and I was on stage a lot. And this is her piano, so she drew this a little while ago. She's even better now, but I'm hooking the background with two different pairs of her stretchy jeans that she outgrew. And I'm hooking the rest of it mostly in pantyhose, because I just love pantyhose. I find it easiest on my hand and wrist, having had all those stupid problems recently, to pull through. So I'm working on with the denim jeans that she wore, and to be honest, she hardly wore them. She doesn't like stuff with a waistband, and I get that. I really get that. Neither of my kids wear stuff with waistbands, but yeah, I'm hooking this design with her pattern, and so I'm going to be putting up a product that says if you have a drawing from one of your little ones and you want me to either make it into a pattern or kit it for you and get it to you, that's something that I can do really quickly. And I'll probably do like a standard size, like if it's on a, a drawing that's on a piece of printer paper, it only, in terms of ratios, it only has so many sizes it can be. And I'm thinking of these as kind of smaller patterns. So I'll put kind of like a roughly largest measurement this, and I'll keep the kit prices super low. So it's something that everybody can go to if you want to, and you're thinking, oh, I would love to, but the idea of going to Staples and blowing the pattern up and then figuring out what transfer medium I'm going to use, and then this shirt is making me claustrophobic. Sometimes it's just too much. So I want to put that up there. So yeah, so it's there, and that you can make heirlooms out of special drawings, maybe drawings from your childhood too. I have, oh gosh, I hope I can find it. My younger sister, who is the conservator at Yale now. You've seen her, maybe see her again in the near future, because videos with her are fantastic. She's so smart, and she's always been in the arts too. So she was a great artist when she was a little kid, and she did a few abstract paintings that are just out of this world. And incredibly, one of them was like this big, and it was called the basket. It looked nothing like a basket, but man, what a composition. And my aunt, who since passed away, loved it so much and always remarked on it when she saw it. And my sister ended up painting it for her, like an exact replica of it, enormous, like 50 something by whatever. And it went right over the mantle, and it covered the whole space over my aunt's mantle. And wouldn't you know it, when my aunt passed away, we were so obviously rattled, and it was a surprise, and we were not in a good mindset, and we were allowed to go into the house and choose things that we wanted, and I just was not in the mindset. And I couldn't really think of anything. And incredibly, both me and my mom and my sister failed to notice this giant painting that was on the mantle. None of us took it, and then it was too late. So it's like so awful to think that that might have gone to like someplace crazy like Savers or something like that, because they just did not know what to do with it. That upsets me every time I think about it. I think about it all the time. So one of my plans is to make a hooked rug from it, but it makes me very upset that I don't have that original, even though she could repaint it. It's one of those things, isn't it? And it also represents that time, which was super dark and horror filled, and it was just one of the symptoms of that kind of sudden loss, and then just not thinking it through. But point is, if you have important drawings in your life and you do fiber arts, you do hooking or punching or applique or whatever kind of rug making you do, yeah, it's an opportunity to be able to kind of immortalize that great piece of ephemera and make it into something a little bit more permanent. So that'll be, hopefully that product pops up later today. Let's get going. Oh, I got to show you this. Wait a minute. I got to show you this, and then we can get going. I was working on the Magdalena tree, right? I didn't do the video yet. I have to finish the video. It's coming in parts. I showed you this on the show, right? The burlap tote bag. And I don't know if you can tell, but inside I still have the window pane frame, right? It's an 8-inch interior frame. So it's about 10 or more across. But it's inside the bag, and I have it quite tight still on my piece, because I had my hand in here while I was watching Stranger Things, been binge watching Stranger Things. Love that show. God. And I was able to hook the colors. I think I showed you, or maybe I didn't show you yet, but I'm doing sort of a gradation of the sort of white through the different greens, and on the I haven't finished this tier. This is going to be, the product is going to be called the Magdalena Doodle Tree. Or tote, and then the bottom one's going to be kind of a forest green, and I started this one with the browns. And then I think what I'm going to do, I was agonizing a bit about what and it will come with the frame, right? Because you can use the frame for small hooking projects or medium hooking projects, because you can move your thing around, punching and mini punching, or just sewing and needle stuff. It's a comb frame, right? It's one of these guys. So it's going to be a very fun product and very different. And your wool is going to come for this and the stump, right? For the tree, you're going to have lots of wool. And then I think I'm going to do, I said to Kirsten, I'm kind of stumped with how I should fill in the little fruities or the little balls, because I want them to be lots of different colors. And Kirsten said, and she was talking about me, so I'm not giving myself the compliment, I'm relaying her words. She said, you really excel at the blingy stuff. And I thought, I have hundreds of skeins of blingy yarn, and I love using them. I use them for as many projects as I can without being ridiculous. I think I am a bit ridiculous. But I think I ordered a bunch of those little floss cards on Amazon. So I think I'm probably going to put in 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So there's 28 balls. So I'll probably put in, I'm going to say like 40 little cards with blingy material so that you can choose. Maybe I'll do 50 just to keep it even, because then you can use the others, you know, for like other projects. But you can choose if you want to do a color scheme, like you want to do all darks or all brights or yellows or mixed or whatever, then you'll have some choices to pull from. And there'll be enough on each one that you could do more than one ball in that yarn or fiber. So I'm going to put this together, and I'm going to put this up as a product. My cards are coming today, so I'll be able to photograph this product with the cards, and it will also come with this green cut up. I hooked this in a number 7. So it will default to 7 unless you leave me a note on the product that says, I don't like 7, I like 3, or I like 8, or I like 5. So if that's the case, make sure you leave me a note on the order. But this will be coming out. And the reason it's going to be called Doodle Tree is I'm going to finish recording the video after the show. But I do too, Diane. I love this. And the hooking is coming up too with a different version of the Magdalena tree. It's a very Magdalena evergreen winter for me, right? This is like, for me, I want to put my foot down on the gas with this motif for this season, because not to be a jerk, but I love this motif, and I have not seen it done. And I feel like it's Magdalena's, right? I just turned it upside down and made it in the shape of an evergreen. But I feel like as soon as I put it out there, there's often some degree of poaching, and I thought, let me just get out all of the Magdalena, not to be a jerk, but let me just get all of the Magdalena evergreen products out this winter, right? So that if they start to be borrowed and whatever, taken, I don't own it, right? I don't believe in this kind of an intellectual property. But when that happens, I sometimes get triggered. So I'm going to put out a few products that include this. So if you like it, it's here. And next year, it'll probably be in more places than here. So that's fine. And I was thinking with the background of the tree, because there's so much left over, I thought I might doodle, and this will be part of the video, some stars and stuff into the background. I don't want to hook the whole background, right? I still want it to function as a tote, but I want to fill in this area a little bit with some Magdalena forms. On the hook along piece, I have 2 lumpy reindeer, right, that look like if Magdalena did reindeer. I feel like this guy behind me is like casting a weird spell on me. He's distracting the hell out of me right now, but he is cute. He can stay for one more episode. So I'm probably going to doodle in some stars and stuff using some of the fibers and things that I have, and I'll probably doodle up the whole background in a crazy way. And that's the reason I think I'm going to call this project the Magdalena, maybe the Magdalena Doodle Tote. Gosh, that sounds weird, doesn't it? But I think I will. I think it'll be fun. And just as a note, for those of you who are thinking, I don't want a bag. You know, I got enough bags in my life. I don't need any more bags. And incidentally, I'm just going to show you, this will not be on the product, but I was experimenting with what images were too busy for a tote. Well, this is the other image I was telling you about, right? This is the hook along image. I didn't even finish coloring it in because I could see this is too much for a tote. For me, this is too much for a tote. So this is the hook along project. That will go up later today too. And when I gave this the maybe not, then I switched to this. And I thought, let's doodle this up a little bit less frenetic and crazy. This is just like, boom, punch in the throat. But this, I think, is more decorative. But if you are a person who's thinking, yeah, I'm not a big tote person, I can't see myself toting it up, what you could do is literally undo the seams, right, of the piece, hook up this pattern and put it in a frame, and then you will have the second piece of burlap on the back perfectly blank to use for a different product, because this is very high quality burlap, right? This is very nice burlap. This is not like Crafty Rafties. This is very nice. It's not smelly. It's not weird. So that's also an option, to just separate the 2 squares and use them as 2 different projects, right? And then you have 2 things to frame or turn into pillows, right? Also possible. And the frame that's inside here will serve you very well when you do projects of this size. So I'll finish that up, and I'll finish that video later, and I'll finish recording the video on crocheting the edge, right? I'll make a firm decision. I'll switch back into the pink top with the cherry earrings, and I'll make it look like I did it the same day, which I didn't. Ah, dear, oh dear. All right, let's see. Oh, thanks, Diane. You love your daughter's on stage rug. I love that one too. It's so I love all her work. I just love her imagination. They're both such good kids. I feel so blessed and yeah, every mother does. I hope every mother does. They are all special pieces. Well, they are special pieces of work, believe me, but they are fantastic as well. Let's see where we left off here. I was catching up a little bit, moving slides around. Yep, so we were here. Ah, I see, said the blind man. Okay. Hang on while I worry a little bit, just a little bit. Hang on just a second. Um, ho, ho, ho. Please don't tell me I screwed this up. Please don't tell me this is gone. Hang on just a second. I put a bunch of new slides up this morning, and why are they not in the slideshow? Hang on just a minute. Okay, so they are in this slideshow. No, they are not. Ooh, okay, this is very worrying. It might be that something happened with the program. No, we're good. We're good. Oh, I wish you could see what I'm seeing, and you would know I was not losing my mind. The screen literally just changed, and it was not pleasing. It was not a pleasing moment. Okay, so let's do. Hang on a second. I'm just bringing us. It has combined two of my scenes. I know. It seems like no, Deanna. It was probably you. No, this one wasn't. So why don't we start? Gosh, why don't we start here? Sorry about that. Yeah, something shifted. Yeah, but at least they're here. So we are looking at rugs from the New Hampshire Wool and Magic Guild, and I am wrapping up the show in Deerfield, which I took a lot of pictures at, as you know. I wanted to show you this one because I think, could this be that image? And I don't have it with me. To remember, we've talked about this a lot because I think we all love the memory of that short-lived publication called Wall Street Journal. Isn't this the cat that was on like the first cover of that? Do you know what I mean? The most famous image associated with Wall Street Journal is a cat image. And there was a contest at that time. And I'm going to see if I can pull it up. That might be the quickest way. There was a contest at that time. Hold on just a second. Let's see. Wall Street Journal. And a whole bunch of people hooked the same cat. And I feel like it's this cat. Let's get the definitive. No, you know what? I'm wrong. I'm wrong. Let me show you which cat it is. Because it's pretty. I think I'm wrong. I think I'm wrong. I think this is the cat, the Wall Street Journal cat, which is a bit different. I know there were lots of versions of the cat, and that's the thing. So I'm not really sure, but it certainly reminded me. It's a beautiful primitive cat. It's got a this is a smart binding. We hardly ever talk about this binding. This is literally a hooked piece that has been framed, right? The backing fabric unknown, but the backing fabric has been framed quite a wide border at that in quilt fabric, so quilt cotton. So this is a good solution too, and it looks like it's hand stitched right up close. It's probably folded right up close. It had to be done like kind of at a log cabin with mitered edges. You know what I mean? With log cabin edges. That's the only way that this could be done. But this is a great hand sewing project. You don't even need a machine for this. You don't have to worry about your button foot for your presser foot. This is just an easy at-home hand sew project. And I just thought it was a lovely piece. It's a very, very sweet cat. I thought the colors were simple and lovely. I really love primitive, so that struck me as something really sweet. This was another sweet piece. These aren't the one. This is part of a slideshow I had for something else, right? For a different day, but that's okay. I hope you didn't hear that weight drop in the next room. I hope somebody is not got that stuck on their throat or something. Incredible the amount of exercising that is being done on all sides of me, with the accompaniment of incredible noise and the dropping of weights. So this is another lovely piece. I don't think we looked at this, but this is a great take on a small kind of a crop of a crazy quilt. Nice Victorian crazy quilt, sweet lines, right? You could absolutely crazy this up, very seat of the pants composition, just boom, boom, boom. Drop your lines in however you want, make it connect, fill it in as you will. This is the ultimate hit or miss project. And then if you have little bits and bobs in your button draw, in your junk draw, if you've got lonely buttons or small pieces of lace, right? Like these little Battenberg examples, little charms, things like that. Sometimes knitters have little charms, right? Lots of things would work. And I just think it's a very fun piece that makes the point. You can do really impromptu pieces, right? The back of that bag, if you were to separate the Magdalena tote, right, the doodle tote, and you had a square on the back made of burlap, boom, take out your noodles and do something like this. Wouldn't that be fabulous? Looking forward to seeing that. April, I don't know what tessellation is though. Oh, I missed a comment. April said, I just made a tessellation that my son drew and painted in the 3rd grade into a punched piece for the next ATHA magazine. Oh my gosh, April, I'm so sorry I missed that comment. That is so exciting. No sneak peekies, I guess. A tessellation is when you have a geometric drawing that you put through a series of like infinitesimal shifts. So if it tessellates, tessellation is something that we associate with quilters and the artist Mauritius Escher, right? So he did a lot of tessellations. The shifting, it doesn't have to be geometric, right? Because Escher brought tessellation to natural forms, right? And that was his version, his contribution to mathematics, like seriously. So he brought tessellation, the flipping, moving, reversing of forms, right, within a mathematical equation where there is, for example, no loss, right, forms that fit together with no loss. That is an example of tessellation, but also when you tessellate something in geometry like quilt blocks, you are using the same basic composition, but you are almost cropping to different aspects or different parts of the composition from one frame to the next. So you're shifting. It's almost like a tessellation when you use your, let me get the definition of tessellation. My brain is not working that well this morning. You know when you use the photo adjust thing and there's that scale slide at the bottom and you move and it shifts? It's almost like it's tessellating your image. Let's get the definition of tessellation. It's used differently. It had one definition forever, really, until Escher, and then he completely hijacked the idea of tessellating art, and in a good way. A tessellation or a tilling is the covering of a surface. Tiling. See, I'm not doing that well today. I don't know what's wrong with me. This is too tight. A tessellation or tiling is the covering of a surface, often a plane, using one or more geometric shape called tiles, with no overlaps and no gaps. In mathematics, a tessellation can be generalized to higher dimensions, a variety of geometries, a periodic tiling. So it does become very complex. But they're showing you things like that look like video game screens, and things like what Escher did is an organic form of tessellation. It is a very hard thing to define. There were quite a few books in the 80s and 90s in the quilting category that were about tessellating for quilts. And those were very interesting books because it really walked you through being able to, very hands-on, no skills, no advanced degrees, no math, walking you through tipping or shifting a geometric composition so that you're getting a different crop of it and doing it in a series. I'm stopping. But if you're interested in that, look up quilt book tessellations because there's at least 2 by the same author that are phenomenal. And even more important, April, I can't wait to see yours. I can't wait to see yours. That'll be fun. Sharon says, okay, I get it. It is mind-bending. It is. I think that's what happened, right? Between this and having to actually think, it was a bit mind-bending. And Diane said, my granddaughter drew on a dry erase board a drawing of herself for me, and it's wonderful. Yeah, absolutely. Take a picture of it before somebody accidentally wipes it off. That's always the thing with chalkboards and stuff, isn't it? Remember that famous story about Picasso? He was such a bastard, but down by the water, and he drew a drawing, and a guy came up to it and was trying to capture it and sketch it or photograph it or something, and he wouldn't allow it, and they just kind of stood as the water came in and erased it, right? He loved the power of being able to just scribble something on a piece of paper that other people went crazy for and being able to say worthless means nothing to, he was a difficult person. I think that is historically known at this point. So what a great project. This is a great go-to project for beginners or for people who are sitting around surrounded by a wealth of noodles. We definitely saw this one. I'm hoping we didn't just do repeats. Let me go a little bit further up. Okay, this is what I wanted. This is what I wanted. The very next slide. I had to laugh when I saw this guild. This is a New Hampshire guild called Braiders of the Lost Ark. How perfect is that? This was at the Deerfield County Fair. I don't know if the county is the Deerfield Fair. It was an enormous fair. Um, Absolutely beautiful examples of braiding. Unfortunately, I was trying to chat with a woman who, I know I said this, absolutely did not want to chat, answer questions, or make eye contact. So it made it hard to chat because I wanted to talk and, get a little background on who is in the guild, the size of the guild, what kind of projects they have. Do they have group projects? Do they take new members? Are they always using wool? I was hoping to chat, but it was not possible. But this guild is obviously filled with very many talented people who do tremendous work. Now, at first sight, this is a braided rug, but it's not a traditional braided rug. This is a multi-strand braided rug. So I have been teaching this past year quite often um, the technique of how to do a multi-strand braided rug. You can see it looks different. This is a very large rug. It does look braided. This was done with stretchy material, so probably t-shirts and sort of stretchy cotton jersey bed sheets, right? Those kinds of things. It is really lovely. It is a very easy form in my mind compared to traditional braiding. I am not a huge fan of traditional braiding because I always have that feeling a few times that I've done it that I'm home free when the braiding part is done and you have this giant, never-ending snake of a thing that you think, good for me, I am done. And then the lacing is just beginning, and the lacing is a huge, huge part of the process, and having the lacing done correctly so that the tension is correct and the rug sits flat and is not buckling. And it's a thing, right? The lacing is a whole separate art. You might be good at the braiding. You might be good at getting a good even braid that doesn't pull at itself, but then you have got that second layer of difficulty, which is lacing it together. And it's not difficult if you love it and it's one of your passions and you know how to do it. But for a beginner coming to it, I honest to God feel like doing a multi-strand braid um, is a lot easier because there is no lacing. It's sometimes called a braided in rug because what you're doing is, oops, I thought I had more of a close up. Shoot, I thought I had more of a close up of this rug. Dang it, I probably do later. I'm going to unlock it and stretch it open for you a little bit. Um, it's more of a weaving than it is a braiding. You start with 3, but then you immediately go up to more strands. And for me, it's very typical to get to 10, 12 strands. And I know that sounds bewildering, like, oh man, what a mess that must be. It's really not, because you're literally going over, under every time. Every time. Even when you add 2 more strands and you're at, a much higher number, a number that sounds crazy, you're still doing over, under. And at that point, you're just weaving over, under. And there is no braiding. And it's the same thing round after round after round, plus increases, right? You need to increase when your thing is growing this large. It needs ease. But yeah, I should put up another class teaching this, or maybe just do a definitive video teaching this. But it is a great form. No, you can't use a frame. You start, Sharon, with I always start with like a shipping box, like a strong piece of cardboard with a binder clip on it, and I start my first initial braid, and then I decide what length I want the braid to be, because, and this will be, if I decide to do a video, maybe I'll just do it that way, because it is hard to kit this class for me. I literally need to buy 100 or more than 100 t-shirts to be able to kit the class, and that for me, like shopping for t-shirts and stuff like that, is and washing them is just not something I look forward to these days. But if you have materials and your stuff is all washed and it's not going to stretch again, you're literally just putting a braid in, regular braid, like a hair braid, and then you are deciding, what shape you want the rug to be. Because, for example, if you want like a little oval rug, you want kind of a short braid, maybe of 7 or 10 links, and then you just go around it and it gets fatter and fatter and rounder and rounder. But if you want like a little table runner for the table or maybe the hall, then you want a really long chain, more like 70 something, right? And then you're going to go around that, but you're not going to make as many rounds. It's going to be more long, you know what I mean? So these kinds of crucial decisions at the beginning of the braiding process are the hardest part. And then following a chart where you make increases. It is quite forgiving, even if you forget to make increases here and there. Unless you forget to make many increases, it's going to come out pretty good, right? Pretty reliably good. It's a very, very easy form. And like I said, it is literally over, under, over, under. It's weaving between the tails. So it looks like a mess. And you just have to steel yourself for that and say, I'm going to look down, I'm going to see all these tails, but I'm not going to let that frighten me because I'm literally going over, under, and that's it. And then I go to the next one, over, under. Very, very simple. No lacing. You're just done. And it's very, very hard to get into trouble with tension. You can immediately see if there is a tension problem. Unlike with lacing a rug. Have you ever seen a rug like anywhere? I've pulled some out of Goodwill and stuff that they don't lay flat. And there is absolutely nothing to be done about it but take all of the lacing out and relace it. And I have bought those rugs thinking, oh, I'll just redo it. And I just don't. They're still sitting wherever. And that's frustrating because it's, mostly done with wool. The traditional braided ones, they're not super forgiving. You can block and add heat to a certain extent. But if your tension is wrong with your lacing, you're going to have some profound problems. And that really is, it's a lot harder to come back to mistakes with a traditional braided rug than it is with a multi-strand. The multi-strand is very, very forgiving. I'll think on that. That's something I can put together in the near future. It's also a fact that the multi-strand makes kind of a spiral pattern as you go. Depending on the colors that you're using, it can be more or less pronounced. This is all rainbow colors. Super, super pretty. And you can use quilt fabric for this too. It's just like if you're using quilt fabric for rug making at all, whether it's this or Amish toothbrush or crocheted rug or whatever, because most quilt fabrics, with the exception of batik and like the Kona cottons, the solid cottons, most quilt fabrics are printed and they're white on one side. And because of that, you end up looking at the piece and sometimes the colors are not really a home run because so many of the fabric parts that are showing are accidentally flipped over to the wrong side, and you're not getting that great continuity of pattern, right? So that can be a thing using quilt fabric, but it's not impossible to use quilt fabric. And I prefer using quilt fabric and bed sheets for Amish toothbrush rather than this. This for me is easier with stretchy jerseys. And April says, can you mix the quilt fabrics and t-shirt fabrics together in these types of rugs? You can, April. It's just going to be a question of the question is always, will you then wash the rug? Because then we can have a problem because they won't wash the same. So if your idea is like, I'm going to put it down, but I might want to put it in the washing machine at some point, I would say to err on the cautious side and go with like all stretch or all quilt material. But if your idea is, I'm going to put it down and if something happens, I'm going to spot clean it, and that's as wet as it's going to get, then you could absolutely mix them. The early 19th century rag rugs that we see are made with wools, cottons, all kinds of like, was it Lindsay Woolsey's? The mix, like the little early hybrid mixes and stuff like that, right up until the early 20th century where we start to see synthetics and rayons, and then those get mixed in. So it is historically absolutely on target to make rugs with lots of mixed fibers. But in our society now, the first question tends to be, or there's always an assumption, well, I'm going to wash the rug, of course. But with mixed fibers, it's taking a very big chance because even if they are pre-washed, there is still the chance. Once they are in, you are creating a new fabric. When you make a rug that is woven in this way, you're making a new fabric. So it's entirely possible for them to want to, even if they are pre-shrunk, there is still room for Murphy to play in the washing machine with your rug at a very high chance of it having a problem. But my feeling is always like, I like to use the materials I like to use. And if I mean to do something that's like a hybrid of different materials, I am going to spot clean the rug. And I am completely at peace with that. I don't put a lot of my rugs on the floor. I put more like braided and Amish toothbrush rugs on the floor. And for me, when they get awful, um, they're going to go away. They're going to go away forever. They're going to like truly retire. Um, it is what it is because they're very fast to make, and you can easily make one of these multi-strand braided rugs while you're watching. Like if you watch a movie, if you put in 2 or 2.5 hours, if you're making a welcome size rug, you're going to be done. If you're looking for a bigger rug, when it gets bigger, it's just more time weaving. So the larger it gets, the more time it is to make. But whipping up that welcome mat size rug, that's something you can easily do in an evening, even as a beginner. That's not a thing. Having said that, massive detour here. If you did want a rug that was not a traditional shape, and I have not done this, but you could experiment with asymmetry by not putting ease in at the right places, right? When you are making, I'm going to stop and we're going to get back to the content, but when you're making a rug, for example, that looks like, let me show you. I know you know this, but I'll just show you just in case. We all need reminders of important things. If I'm making a rug that is a traditional oval, let's say it's a traditional oval, you know that where am I going to need the ease, right? And the larger the rug gets, right, just like with clothing, you need ease, otherwise it's going to buckle. It's going to turn into a bowl. And if you want a bowl, you're going to have the most artistic, grandest fabric braided bowl that anyone's ever seen. And you see them at galleries with big price tags on them. So I'm not making fun of that at all. But the larger your rug gets, depending on the shape, and let's say this is truly an oval, you're going to need more ease, right? The larger it gets, you need more and more ease. With round rugs, you need ease all the way around. So the thing about asymmetrical rugs, which we often see, is that as you get as they grow larger, or even at the beginning stages, if you didn't want it to be symmetrical, experimenting with ease, right, or putting too much ease or too many increases in one side is going to make it lopsided. It's going to make it heavier on that side, right? And then you're going to have kind of like a growth in the shape of the rug. That didn't sound right, you know what I mean? But that's how you get odd shapes with rugs. So a lot of people who do very artsy gallery rugs that are like, not going to do the rectangle or the circle or oval. I'm going to do something with like an abstract shape. They're playing with ease, right? And the more you do that, and I have not had time to do that, the more proficient you become at saying, well, I would like something that's shaped more like a pear. Because you can do that with traditional braiding, but it's a little bit harder with multi-strand. These are all things we should talk about in class. It was, yeah, you were thinking that too. It's absolutely a rabbit hole. It's oh, Michelle, good to see you. It's a crazy rabbit hole at that, because it's a lot of fun, and it's a lot of quick rugs for the floor. And for me, I really like the multi-strand braided. I love crochet. I love crocheting rugs with my kids' clothes, and I also love the Amish toothbrush because those are all very, very fast. And I have a distinction in my head between rugs for the floor and rugs for the wall. So I see them as two different sort of genre of rugs, and some of them for me, they're only ever going to go on the floor. They're never going to go on. I'm never going to put like a multi-strand braided on the wall. So I still save my wall space for like my beauties, my hooked projects and my punch projects. It's apples and oranges, right? So it's a fun thing to get into, and you are using many of the same materials. So in that regard, wow, I'm getting super late, aren't I? But it's fun when we do kind of an organic flow, isn't it? Now this is. Ooh, you know what? Let me pull this up a bit more. I think this is another multi-strand. Because it's hard to spot, but once you get looking at multi-strands versus traditional, you see them more often. It was a technique that was started in the Depression era, or so it's believed. Gretty, great to see you. And it was a technique that kind of fell by the wayside, when things began to be manufactured, and it was considered like the height of poverty and shame to be making homemade rugs at home. And as we got into the 40s, 50s, 60s, until we hit the 70s, and there was a real renaissance in crafting again, a sincere renaissance in crafting, not just a blip on the radar. We were not seeing this form at all. And it wasn't until very, very, not the 70s, very, very, very recently that we start seeing the multi-strand again. And the only reason I know how to do the multi-strand is because when I was working on the research for my first book, I found some 1920s era pamphlets, and they described this rug, and not like with illustrations. And I thought, what are they just? I'm thinking, is it a braided? I couldn't figure out what they were describing, and it wasn't clear enough with the pamphlet to tell me what we were talking about. And it was still called a braided rug. So I'm thinking, I had to actually do it to figure it out. And then after I did it, I worked on it quite a bit to get the math right, because I felt like the math wasn't quite right for making a rug that definitely would lay flat and not be too loose around the edges. It needed a lot more increases, in my opinion. So I tried it many, many times, and I finally hit on the chart that I do with the class, right? That's not a secret. I put it out there with the class because for me, it works every time. And for someone else, if they were trying to make a different shape, right, they could alter the chart, but you'll see there's a rhythm to the chart. There's a mathematical sort of baseline to the chart as the thing grows. And it's not infinite. It does change. But it wasn't until I got going with doing it that I thought, this is completely a different form. And I know I didn't invent it. And then I started seeing it more on YouTube videos, looking at braided rugs and going, that's a multi-strand braided rug. Or a braided in rug. That's not a braided rug. And now when I go to antique stores, 99% of the time, it's a braided rug I'm looking at. But that 1% when it's a multi-strand is exciting. And they're usually extra filthy because they're usually not made with wool. They're usually made out of cottons and a mix. And they have been down on the floor, and they were poverty times rugs. That's absolutely what they were for. And I have yet to find one at an antique store that I might buy, because it's fun to have it as a novelty and say, I know what that is. But at the same time, they're so filthy and fragile that I would neither display it on the wall nor want to put it on the floor for service. So it's a tough call, but man, it's fun. It's like spotting an animal in the wild, right? Like, oh, what bird is that? It's one of those, what birds is that, but at the antique store. And it is a lot of fun to spot them. Let me make this one a little bit, because I don't know if I have another photo of this. Hold on. I'm coming back to you. Let me unlock. Make this a little bit larger. I have to say I do not like the way this rug is displayed. It is a lovely, oops, whoa, that was scary. It is a lovely rug, but I can't see it on these steps. And obviously, man, unless, this is like a murder mystery waiting to happen, a good old Agatha Christie, you would not put a rug like this on the stairs, right? You would be like asking for someone to have a terrible fall. This is a braided in rug, without a doubt. It's a braided in rug. I can just tell by the pattern that it's not a triple braid. And probably your eye can see that too. But it's an absolutely beautiful piece. This is done in a very set color palette, unlike the other one. Super Pride, Super Rainbow. This is a much more controlled color palette, going in the center from grays and kind of sage greens, herby greens, to greens and blues, to blues and blues. And they have kept a little bit of the lightest values going right out through, but you can see with this rug also, it is entirely possible to make color decisions about the color plan. And in this case, they chose the kind of dull neutrals in the center, and then it fans out to a very high contrast, dark light, kind of sea greens, turquoise, and into the cobalts and navies. So doing this kind of a color plan is just as easy. I'm going to say easier than with a traditional braided rug, but another beauty. And of course, the traditional braided rugs are beautiful too. This is absolutely gorgeous. If this rug was for sale, I'd be looking for the price tag on it, without a doubt. It has these gorgeous autumn colors. Another point, that this is not a point to the negative. This is beautifully done. It is beautifully finished. One thing about, in my mind, the difference between the traditional braided rug like this one, which is a 3-strand braid, and the multi-strand, which is more of a weaving project once you get that initial braid done, is that you don't get the seam. Do you know what I mean? Right on the top, from when you go from one round to the next revolution, you do kind of, it jogs a little bit. And who cares, right? Because it's absolutely beautiful. It is flawless. This is the construction of the rug that I'm talking about. Oh, Maggie, good to see you. This is the construction. And oh, and there's no fault, there's no flaw. It's the way that the rug is made. But this is another point, I think, in favor of the multi-strand, that you don't get that, right? It's all woven in. This is a beautiful traditional braided rug. This has a really high static quality to me, meaning it, when I look at it, it's almost like an optical illusion. Are you having that too? And I think the reason for that is the contrast is almost 50-50. Dark, light. Well, we've got in the center, it looks like red, white, and blue, but there is like the same ratio of darks to lights, different colors going right through the rug, different colors, but not really different values. The white kind of downshifts to being the third color is darker, it turns into the black. But it is three distinctly different colors used in compartments. There is unless it's an optical illusion, there's a little bluish purple ring around the red center. And it does make a moire pattern, absolutely. This is color planning, right? This is something that works better with a traditional braided rug. This kind of effect works better with a traditional braided rug. It's really very, very advanced in terms of color planning and construction. This one is very different. I really like this one. I like all of them, right? Oh, this is the close-up. Ding dong. This is the close-up I was looking for on the multi-strand, the rainbow multi-strand. So you're seeing it closer up, and you're seeing, these are big cut pieces that are usually cut with a rotary cutter. There's lots of videos online if you're cutting bed sheets, jersey bed sheets, and that's a lot of fun too. Because you make a few swipes with your rotary cutter, it turns into like a weapon at that point, and you've got like an endless amount of braiding material. With the multi-strand, you can't have tails that are too long, because it'll become too tangled and messed up immediately. You have to work with lengths that are about a yard or under, in my opinion, because the tangling, the mess, not being able to see where you're working because the ends are too long, or it takes too long to weave the end in because it takes 5 minutes to find the end because the strip is so long. That's not good with this form. That's different than a traditional braided rug as well, right? Having like infinite material near you is not going to work with that rug. I think this is my favorite of the braided rugs in the show. This is a traditional. This is extraordinary. I, again, love the color planning in this rug. And it does have a great thoughtfulness about the use of dark versus light. So in the middle, it looks like we're looking at a kind of a snowball color palette, like a light blue and a vanilla color. And then we go out toward, oh, wait a minute. Nope. Wait a minute. This is a multi-strand. This is a multi-strand. Hold on one second. This is a multi-strand. I'm pretty sure. Let me look at it closer up. You know how I knew? Because there's no seam on it. That was the first thing. And then I realized when I said snowflake, it's making a bit of a star pattern. This is a multi-strand. This is a multi-strand. So let's look at it closer up. I did not notice that until we started talking. Yeah, that's absolutely a multi-strand. It's a round one. So yeah, this is very good. They have really gone out of their way to continue the color planning throughout, right? This can be done in multi-strand. It can be done. The thing with multi-strand is you can stay with, for example, 4 or 6 or whatever strands. You don't have to go up to 10, 12, 14. And if you do, right, regardless of what you choose, when you add a new color into the mix, when you add a new color or replace a color, or you're adding a completely new strand and thus adding 2 more strips to your count, it's still working the same way. When you do that, you have the opportunity to change the color. So with the multi-strand, you are changing the color typically at the same point in the composition, but it is a lot easier to hide when you are introducing another color. So unlike with a braided rug, right, there is a full stop. With a multi-strand, it's very innocuous. So absolutely, this is a multi-strand. I'm glad I caught that because this is a great example of one. This one is very, very different. Very different. Let's see what else we got. I want to run through the braideds. Hang on, I'm going to look at this close before I run my mouth. I mean, my gut instinct, and this was way up at the ceiling, is that this is traditional, but it's not. This is also not traditional. Do you see the spiral shape? Do you see the spiral in the middle, right? You can see that energy in the middle. It is not a circle coil that's going round, round, round. It is the center tiny braid that's maybe like 1 or 2 chains that it immediately is spiraling out, and you're immediately doing rounds and weaving in. This is a multi-strand. This is another multi-strand. This is what I mean. It doesn't, at first glance, it looks like a traditional braided, but it can't be. It just can't be, because look at the center. It just can't be. They have a slightly different look. And again, the more we see them and the more people who start making them, the more we'll be talking about them and the more they'll be in front of us. But at this moment, we rarely see them. This is a braiding guild. That's why we're seeing them, right? Somebody at the guild. This is another one. Somebody at the guild must have been doing multi-strand braiding or teaching it. It might be that I taught it, but I didn't teach it there. I know there's not a lot of people teaching it right now. But yeah, these are multi-strands. These are all this is another multi-strand. And again, you see the center, it has a bit of that spirograph look to it. It is not a circle. It's not a coil that's working outward. It's not a cinnabon. This is a multi-strand. That's how you can tell. And you see the energy going right out to the edges. It creates, you can alter the colors, but you can't alter the pattern. It makes what looks like kind of a web or a stained glass window, right? A lot of these look like the rose window of a church. You can't change that. Of course, you can if you're working with solid colors, right? But if you're working with different colors, whatever the color palette is or whatever the degree of contrast you've got going, it is still going to make this pattern because this is the weave, right? It's like looking at a tapestry and saying, well, can the weave look different? Well, no, this is the weave. This is the weave that you're doing, this is the way that it looks. Interesting. That was exciting. I didn't realize that. I didn't spend a lot of time in the braided rugs, I have to say, because I felt like I'm not going to say the bum's rush, but I felt like I got such an unfriendly reception trying to talk to the woman who was sitting there that it made me not want to stay. And that is not successful because the whole point of these fairs, right, is to chat and to get people excited and interested in your whatever it is that you do. And it backfired. But luckily, I was interested enough, and I love rugs enough that I took pictures of all of their rugs. So there. This is one of these great sort of mutants, right? You see these in Victorian rugs as well. You often see a rug that is made a sort of succession of circles or different shapes. Sometimes you see them lined up like next to each other, like 3, 3, 3, 3, right down. And then the braiding that is done around them, right, holding them together. You're attaching rugs and then you're braiding around them, making like an echo braid around them. This is a traditional rug. You cannot do this with multi-strand. You cannot do this at all. April, maybe I will. If there's enough interest, I will. I probably should. I probably should. Would you prefer a class to a video, or does it not matter? What if I did both? The thing about the class for me is putting the kits together because it's so labor intensive. What if I did a very comprehensive video and then I offered like a very inexpensive class to say like, here's the video, work with me step by step. Now let's do a class, or we could even do like we could even do a fun night, not a class, where you show me if you're having problems and I go, okay, I see what you did right there. You know what I mean? Because if I look at your rug, I can immediately see what's going wrong. Oh, you don't have enough increases. Or you're braiding so loosely that you're going to need more increases. The next person might not, but you might. That's not a problem. You just have to allow for it, right, in the way that you work. So, yeah. Yeah, I think I'll do a video, and then we can just do, like, if a lot of people are watching it and downloading it, I could just do, like, a live one night where maybe we could all get on Zoom and I could say, let me see, what you're doing and how it's going. Maybe we could record it for a video for other people That would be fantastic. I think I'll do that. I think I'll do that. Because then, I have to do the dyeing video over the weekend. I still have to do I started it, but I need to finish all of the 10 techniques. I think I'll just do that. Because then I can get really good editing too from my daughter. Yeah, let's do that. I think that'll make a lot of sense. I will absolutely put that on the calendar. Let's race through the rest of these rugs. I know that it's late, but let's look at them really fast so that I know this chapter is closed. It really was a beautiful exhibit to see. And again, I'm not going to let that lady put me off, but it did put me off, and I can't help it, right? Because I'm a human and I have feelings, and it's like, I'm just asking questions. I just want to chat. I'm not infiltrating by any means, and she didn't even know who I was. I'm stopping. So you can see how even with braiding, when you're experimenting with tension and in this case lacing, you can create things that are three-dimensional objects and make, yep, Sharon, a bowl. Isn't that fantastic? I love that. Even easier, I think, with multi-strand. It's easy with both. You see a whole beautiful collection of bowls here. You see some sort of artistic thing. So the one on the left that looks like the Melty record, I think that's a sculptural piece. And then I think we've got 4 bowls. And then on the right, you see the autumn colored one again. That's a multi-strand again. So you can, once your eye gets used to looking for it, you go, yep, that's absolutely what that is. The yellow, rusty. See if I have a better one of that, because that really is beautiful. Oh, this one's special too. So this is actually made up of, guess what? All plastic bags. All plastic bags. So this looks to me to be a crocheted rug, right? It didn't say on there, but this looks like it is a rug that is made up of doing double crochet the whole way around. The whole way around. So because of the height, right? Because of the height from row to row. This is 100% plastic bags. And now that I pulled up the close-up, maybe you can see that a little bit better. What a fun thing, isn't it? I'm going to take a drink of water. Bless you. I'm going to be on for another 5 minutes, I think, just so you know. Absolutely beautiful. And hopefully, okay, that one I already put in there. Oh, you got to be kidding me. So I did some repeats. See, this is what happened earlier. The pictures didn't come up. Bear with me. This is our review. So this is what I was spending time on. Oh, there's Linda there sitting at the table. This is looking at the rug. The reception at Rugs, Quilts, Lace Making was fantastic. And I bet you anything, if I came 5 minutes later and I got a different person at Braided Rugs, it would have been a different story altogether. Quilts were beautiful too. I'm only touching on the quilts here because I know a lot of you are moonlighting quilters too. But just beautiful pieces to look at. I'm just giving you a flash of them as we walk through together and finish out this show. All different kinds, all different variations. Great adaptation on the right of the wedding ring. Very, very clever use of patterning on the one on the left, because it's a fairly simple rug. Is it a fairly simple design? I don't think that's the sort of compass rose points. I think that's a pattern, although I don't remember. But absolutely beautiful. And this was a great applique piece I wanted to show you. This is by the artist Sue Spargo, Spargo. You see a lot of her work done in wool applique, which we saw in the episode on the Big E. If you can remember back to that episode, I said, oh, lock this into your brain. It was this exact pattern, but I think done in white and done in applique, like in wool, as like a penny rug. This is quilted. Right, it does have it's applique, right? It's applique quilting. It's not English piecing. It's not patchwork sewing together. It's applying pieces of the picture and sewing them on individually. It's applique, but it is Sue Spargo, and it's an extraordinary piece. And I took some close-ups of it because we're not just seeing beautiful work done with quilt fabric. We're seeing a little bit of trapunto. I think there might be a little bit of wool applied here, some rickrack, some buttons, some bling. It was just, it might all be quilt fabric. But you see what I mean? Lots of opportunities for lots of different techniques. A piece like this functions as a wonderful sampler because you can pull out all your embroidery stitches, all your crazy material. I love the circles, the 2 gray circles, and well, the black one too, where there's the kind of experimentation in stitching. They seem to be padded a bit, possibly trapunto, I don't know. The thing itself appears to be machine stitched in the background, which you can only see close up. But I'm seeing what look like little pennies and stuff sewn on as well. The pink on the purple. And And this was the table where they were actually working on this rug. So this is traditional braiding. Beautiful. And that's one that we looked at that we decided was absolutely a multi-strand, not a traditional, as well as this one. And yep, that's a multi-strand for sure. I'm looking at the center, and this is the one I wanted to end in because I don't know if I remember to include this one in the episode where I use this as the thumbnail. This bowl of worms, right? Whether you call your leftovers, I call them snoodle noodles, but most people call them worms or noodles or strips. I just think this is so clever. The leftover bowl of worms, and here they are like cobras coming out with their googly eyes. I think it's so whimsical, fun, funny, great fun pattern. Really sweet. You know, I'm just, oh, wait a minute, there's one more image. What's it going to be? Oh, it's the cat, and we started with the cat. Okay, good. That's done. I mean, I did not want to squander those photos, but I took a lot of photos, as you know, and I didn't show you half of the photos that I took. Love the worms, me too, right? I was just thinking, would it be a great idea for a mystery story? I'm just thinking about the braiding. I can't get over, because, you know, this is not useful information, but like I am very nice to people. That's one thing that I like about myself. There's plenty of things I don't, but I am very nice to people. And it always upsets me when people are not nice in return, right? Because I was always brought up to think class is not about money, right? I mean, we were just average. And we lived in a town where there were lots of people who were very, very wealthy. Class is about being able to make other people comfortable, to be gracious, and to make other people comfortable around you. That's class. And you don't have to have money to demonstrate that and to live like that. And when I encounter people who aren't like that, it's completely out of my comfort zone and I don't know how to react. And I feel very awkward and uncomfortable, and it really unravels me. And I was thinking, I wonder now that we've looked at I'm just speculating, now that we've looked at those rugs, I wonder if there's a thing, and I don't know, in braiding, with that many multi-strand rugs in the show, right? It looked more than 50-50 actually. It looked like there were more multi-strand than traditional braiding. I wonder if there's a thing at the show, like there is within rug hooking, between, for example, punchers and hookers, or hookers who hook number 3 and hookers who like primitive hooking. There are always these wacky divides, right? These wacky, illogical, unfounded differences, right, that come up within crafts. I wonder if they're having one right now. Agatha Christie, right? Just joking. It could be a great cozy mystery. Within the guild, there's a lot of upset. It's really showing, right? That kind of a thing. Some of the new renegades are in there using the multi-strand technique. They're braiding up to 14 strands at a time. And the traditional braiders, oh, they don't like it, right? You see what I'm doing here? Could be really fun. Something to think about. At least it would explain why there was this wall of misery, right, and defiance that I walked up to when I said, "Hello, what a beautiful display! All of these rugs are gorgeous," right? Something happened. Just saying. She probably was not secure. Yeah, it's whatever. It is jarring when someone's rude. It is jarring. Because, you know, the worst thing to me is when someone behaves rudely. And sometimes it depends on when you get me, because believe me, I can go there in a way that you would not recognize me. You wouldn't like me if you saw the way I could be in these moments. But in that setting, I didn't want to do that, right? Because there's a lot of people who knew me around, so I wasn't going to do that. Different setting, not sure. Depends on the day, right? It depends on how many people have pulled my chain in the last 15 minutes. But yeah, it is hard because you never want someone else to trigger you to behave outside of like your standards. So my standards are to be gracious and to be very, very nice and to be very friendly and give everybody the time of day. And I don't like it when people push me so far to the edge of that I'm not true to myself. And it does happen, doesn't it? It happens with friends, it happens with strangers, it happens all the time. That's enough of that, right? Well, oh, Rita. I know we are like the same person, right? We're like the same person. As soon as we get together, I'm going to give you the biggest hug. I can't wait. And you know, I'm supposed to be, I think on Friday, I'm still planning to go to the Deerfield show in Deerfield, New Hampshire. So I probably will see buddies there too. That should be a lot of fun. It should be a good time. That's my plan. The kids are off on Friday, so I'm hoping that that works out. That's a very long drive, but I'd like to go up there and record that Promo Gown Fairy Tales rug show, check in with buddies, and maybe do another nice video for those of you who can't be there, which is most people. Which is most people don't live in New Hampshire. So I'll try to do that. And otherwise, I should be with you on Friday when we look at my friend Janet Connor's extraordinary book, Masterpiece Hooked Rugs. This is her second book. This is her self-published book that you can get on her website, right? This is a gem that you need. I'll tell you that. Inspired by the art of world cultures. As a teacher of art, someone who has always been immersed in art, Janet has, this is just, it's over the top. This is Friday. We probably won't get to the whole thing on Friday, but I'll get to many parts of it as we can. So I'll be with you Friday night for cocktail night, and we will be looking at Janet Connor's book, Masterpiece Hooked Rugs Inspired by World Cultures, as opposed to Western Civilization, which was her first book, remember? So I will see you Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Have a great tomorrow, and yeah. We'll see how it goes. I'll try to get to the show, get some good footage, be looking out for the new videos that are coming, and be looking out because I'm putting up the Magdalena hook in, which is going to be, I think I might have changed the date. I'm going to hold that on National Rug Hooking Day, which is Monday, December 4th. Right. So I'm going to put the Magdalena Hook Along project up for December 1st, National Rug Hooking Day, and I'll probably start early since it's National Rug Hooking Day. I'll probably start early in the afternoon. In place of coffee time because that's a Monday. So I'll probably do that and then just hook through the afternoon together. And I'm also putting up the Magdalena Doodle Tote, and I will put up this product, which is, your own design or using, children's drawings, and either putting them on whatever backing fabric you want. I have everything. Or kitting them. So those things are coming up later today. Look out for some new videos. Have a great tomorrow, and I will see you for cocktail time on Friday. See you.